What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and we've got Richards' closing statements here. I will say, absolutely fire start. Just awesome start. Now I think he's probably belaboring the point a little bit. I thought maybe he could have got away with like a 45-minute close. He's still going now, but I think he's made all of his best points. If something comes up, I'll get it tomorrow in the recap, but I don't know. I just don't know what else can be said. He comes out absolutely destroying many of the key points of Littlefinger Binger, who, obviously the cross-state lines thing, that's gone. That he was not supposed to have possession of what he had, that's gone. The judge absolutely crushes him for not bringing the Zeminskis on to the stand because, well, they were bad actors in all this, and it was inconvenient for him to do so. I just want to show a couple of highlights because I think the first like 3 or 4 minutes is where it's really good, and then there are a few other small spots. So he says here,
ladies and gentlemen, this case is not a game. It is my client's life. We don't play fast and loose with the facts, pretending that Mr. Rosenbaum was Citizen A #1 guy.
That's in reference to throughout the trial, they kept trying to say that this one, they really focused on Rosenbaum, to be honest with you. A lot to be said about him. But they tried to say, oh, he's a hero, just like this Gage clown too. He expertly brings up Gage's 10 million reasons too. Hold on a second.
He was a bad man. He was there. He was causing trouble. He was a rioter. And my client had to deal with him that night alone.
I don't love that verbiage. He probably should have said my client had to protect himself.
When I say that the truth matters and this is not a game, in spite of what he might say today, is because he wanted you, now 18, soon to be 12 people, to say, gosh, that kid just went to that place and just protected it. He wasn't asked. He was asked. Mr. Kandiri's asked Nick.
Again, blowing out the whole Kyle just went there without being asked. No, he was asked to help protect the car lot.
Nick got a group of people to go down there.
And what's great is, like, here you even have the same moron. He had no business being there. He came from a different state with a large weapon. None of that is true. Literally none of that is true. None of it. None. Zip. Zero. What does he say? Hocus pocus and out of focus. If the glove does not fit, you must acquit.
The people from West Bend came.
Shout out to my hometown.
Provocation, another thing.
The next point that gets absolutely obliterated is the idea that he was, by the fact that he was even there, in possession of what he was in possession of, everything that happened to him was his fault. Essentially, making the point that if she didn't want that bad thing to happen to her, she shouldn't have worn that short skirt. And he expertly picks that apart, as you'll see.
Think back on November 2nd, when this case started. Did you hear one word out of Mr. Binger's mouth about provocation?
No, and you didn't until he had completely lost the case.
You didn't, because it was never said. But when his case explodes in his face,
much not unlike a bicep,
now he comes out with provocation.
He's right.
That was opening. And most importantly, in opening, quoting from Mr. Binger's first paragraph of his opening statement.
Here we go. Yeah.
On November 2nd. Confronted him while yielding an AR-14.
Oof.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've seen the videos. Mr. Rosenbaum sees, and I'll show you the video in my closing argument. You'll see Mr. Rosenbaum take off when he sees my client coming along with the Zeminskis, to set up the ambush of my client.
Which they did do. And then the judge brought up the fact, essentially, why didn't you put the Zeminskis on the stand? Well, that would have opened them up to cross-examination. You could see here, Richards eviscerating Binger in provocation, and Binger's face says it all. If you just watch him.
Provocation, another thing. Think back on November 2nd.
I already showed you this, but his face is, you could just see, like, he's got that little gurgle. Yeah, there's his face, like.
My goodness.
Like a bicep.
Just crushed him. Some of the other points. He mentions, this is the defense attorney, Richards. Mr. Binger has made it his personal goal of putting my client's head on his wall. He also mentioned in the closing just a few minutes ago that the case is political. I don't know if I like bringing that up, but here's one thing I think is good about it. It is, and the jury knows it. And we have to acknowledge that we need the jury to make the right decision here. We don't need them to make the decision that they think their political allies want. Richards went on to say the evidence doesn't lie. There was soot on Rosenbaum's hand because he was reaching for it. You can see another zinger here. Mr. Binger says, here, I'll check.
We showed the video to start this, clearly depicting Mr. Rosenbaum standing there at Car Source 2 shortly after the dumpster, standing there with his chain, the shirt tied up over his head. But Mr. Binger says it's impossible for him to have threatened my client. That's garbage, just like his case.
Boom! Like, there's innumerable, and then bringing up this ridiculous picture that it's so zoomed in and so hyper pixelated that you can't even really tell what the heck's going on. And I'm supposed to believe that, oh, well, this is a clear picture of Kyle aiming in some way, in some direction. That's obviously not the case. So, what seems, they also talked about him being off his meds, which will not look good. His past with the youngins, that's obviously not good. There's innumerable things, Binger basically muzzling the entire peanut gallery today. I don't really know what else you could say. What will happen? It's hard to know.
Provocation? I don't think so. Or he wasn't prepared when he started this trial, and his closing argument has been a change to try and fit what has come out. Remember how when he was talking, there's no proof that the Rosenbaum and Zeminski knew each other? Maybe they did know each other that night, but they were together throughout the night. You see them together in pictures.
What I think was a stroke of genius is essentially for the first 5 minutes of his opener, and you can watch it, it's out there. Richards basically is reminding the jury how much of a slimeball Binger is. He's essentially saying, hey, I don't like him either. You should probably acquit my client.
Wreaking havoc in this city.
Havoc.
And now
I think I say havoc.
We have the magic pixel camera that brings forth his provocation. I'm going to go through the charges, ladies and gentlemen.
He goes through them really quickly, and I think does a really good job debunking everything, sticking just fact. But now the back end has been a little boring. Now, prosecution will get their chance to rebuttal, and then that's it. The jury will go from 18 down to 12, and they will decide the fate of Kyle. And in some ways, the city, as you're already seeing on Twitter, people are telling the people to burn it down and all this other insanity. People still think the people that Kyle had to defend himself against were black. I mean, it's just, you see here, obviously the judge too. The judge getting all sorts of threats sent to him, which I don't think that's going to bode well. Although, again, he's not the one that decides the case. I think there are a lot of highlights from Richards. Oh, you can see, what is this one?
Thinking, as he said before chasing him, you...
Looks like, what's his name? A clip of Ethan here, but that's not important. This clip to the right is important.
Won't do shit, MFer, to my client. Well, he was wrong.
He just, I mean, he's not like, he's not wrong. Not wrong. And then the final, Richards saying, from the edge of the jury box to my foot is 4 feet. Lunge, grabbing it. Think of how fast that distance is closed. Essentially talking about, you know, the prosecution this whole time has been talking about like how this cold, calculated decisions made by this 17-year-old, when in fact this is everything happening in an instant, thousands, hundredths of a second passing. I think that his close was really good. It extended a little bit too long. The rebuttal, I will have to see if we get some good sound bites. I'll cover it. If not, you know, then we'll have to wait and see what the jury says. If you're new to the channel and you haven't yet subscribed, please do click that red subscribe button so you get notified when I upload, and you can find my videos, as Lord knows YouTube likes to hide them. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.